Welcome to Wisdom Journey, the podcast where we explore the path of building an online business from the ground up. Here, I share my wins, struggles, lessons, and experiments so you can learn, adapt, and grow alongside me. I also interview experts in their respective field. Whether you're just starting out or looking for new strategies to scale, this is your space to find inspiration and practical wisdom. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to take you on this journey. Meet Matthew Fornaro, a seasoned business law attorney who has been helping entrepreneurs and small business owners navigate the legal maze since 2003. Based in South Florida, Matthew runs his own law firm, guiding startups and established businesses alike through everything from contracts and intellectual property to litigation and organization structure. He's also an instructor and mentor through the Kaufman Foundation, Fast Track, New Venture Program, and Florida State University's Jim Moran Institute for Global Entrepreneurship, where he helps business owners understand how to build legally sound and scalable ventures. In this episode, we're diving deep into the legal side of entrepreneurship, the path most founders avoid until it's too late. Welcome to the podcast, Matthew. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Little glitch there, but I'm here now.
Yeah. Now, you've worked with countless small business owners. What's the most common legal mistake they make early on?
Well, the most common legal mistake that small business owners make, no matter where they are, is that they don't plan ahead enough before they get into business. They don't draft the correct documents to have in place. They don't do the right registration. They don't do the right due diligence. They just want to get into business. So the biggest issue is that they jump before they're ready, and that they don't have the documents in place, and they don't have the due diligence in place before they get started.
When someone's just starting out, what are some of the essential legal documents they should have in place from day one?
Well, depending on, no matter where they are located, they need to have governing documents for what kind of business organization they have, whether it's a corporation or a partnership or something like that. They need to have the governing documents that say what the organization is all about, what the organization does, and has all the outline for how the organization runs itself. So that's the main document that everyone should have. Then they should have follow-up documents, such as employment documents if they have employees, vendor documents if they have vendors and things like that, rental documents if they're renting property, whether it's commercial or residential for their business, and various other things. Like if they're on the internet, they have to have terms of service, and basically anything that they touch, they need to have a document in place for.
Well, many entrepreneurs at first, they operate informally, right? And my question is, when is the right time to get legal?
The right time is before you even start anything. Obviously, any time is a good time. It's never too late, but the best time is before you start your business.
Okay. While you were explaining some of the documents entrepreneurs need to get, you did mention contracts. Can you break down what makes a good contract versus one that could backfire?
Sure, a good contract is one that is well thought out, says what your relationship is with the other parties, and says exactly what you're supposed to do and not do. And it says what to do if there's a problem and how to fix that problem. And if you can't fix the problem, then it tells you what to do next. So that's what's in a good contract. There's no one size fits all contract, but generally speaking, in a good contract, that's what should be there.
So what a good contract assumes that, okay, peradventure there is a problem, this is how it should be handled. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Eventually, every contract should have a dispute resolution provision in it.
Okay, just to bring it to terms that everyone would understand. Most podcasts then the guest release contracts. I don't know if you've seen it since you've been guesting on podcasts.
You mean like a release
contract? Release. Yeah, so I send it to you. You sign it. That if I release an episode, I don't have any issues and stuff like that. And I now that I think of it, I'm like, well, I should probably go look at the contract and see some of the things the contract addresses.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a guest on several podcasts, and a lot of them have had that release language on there, or various form of the release. So yeah, I mean, if you want to integrate it into your show, go ahead. It's a good practice to have.
Yeah. Well, One of the things as creators, content creators, podcasters, and online business owners, um, how important is intellectual property protection?
Well, it's very important because if you're a content creator or a podcaster, you're what you generate, your content is your property. You don't have real property, you have intellectual property. So you need to guard that content and you got to make sure you protect that content. So it's very important, whether it's copywriting it, whether it's trademarking your logo or your name, or having like non-disclosure agreements regarding certain things or contracts regarding certain things. So yes, they're a very important part of your business.
Yeah, intellectual property for a lot of persons, it sounds like a lot, right? What does that involve?
It involves a lot of different fields. It's anything that involves, untangible property for the most part. So it's anything that involves copyrights, trademarks, and state secrets. It involves the internet. It involves podcasting. It involves multimedia. It involves AI. It involves essentially anything that's not real property. That's some kind of tangible medium.
Oh, okay. Um, trademark is I'm curious if when it comes to trademarking a name, for example, let's say someone in US, right? If they have to trademark their name, um, I guess where I'm coming from is what happens because in most legal situations you trademark a name in the US. What happens to that name in, let's say, the UK, other countries?
Well, remember, every country has their own laws. For intellectual property, for trademarks and patents, in the U.S., you file your trademarks and patents with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and that's good for the U.S. But you can also file international trademarks and patents through the various different countries and through the World Intellectual Property Association. So obviously, it's most important to have a trademark or protection where you're physically located. But if
Yeah,
you're around the world or you have a global reach, then you want to register in each place. So you would register your trademark or your patent or try to register them in all the places where your product is.
yeah. Well, it does make sense because I would think, well, if I trademark in the US, what happens to other countries? Thank you for explaining that, Matthew.
Yeah, you want it to, just because you're protecting the US doesn't mean you're protected somewhere else. You want to make sure you're protected somewhere else by registering there too.
Yeah, yeah. Earlier on we talked about contracts, right? What are some red flags to watch for in contracts, when collaborating with clients, freelancers, or partners?
Well, you want to make sure that they're fair to you and they're not one-sided or uneven-handed. So you want to review your contract to make sure that the terms are fair, that the contract is actually what you agreed to, and that the other side didn't insert terms that you didn't agree to, or the other side inserts terms that aren't fair to
Yeah,
you. So those are always the biggest red flags. And then you want to watch out for things like venue provisions or choice of law provisions, because if you're located in one country and your venue provision or your law choice provision is in another country, then you're going to have problems. So those are some red flags that you want to keep an eye out for.
well, one of the things that's very common uh, in most businesses is lawsuits, right? They're like every business owner's nightmare. And at the very beginning, you said it's very important to start thinking legal from the very beginning of the business itself. But what are some few steps that business owners can take to drastically reduce the risk of lawsuits? Hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind-the-scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Well, you want to do what we've been talking about. You want to make sure that you have your business organization properly formed and registered and everything. You want to make sure that you have contracts in place wherever you can have contracts in place, and that you have systems in place regarding how you function as a business and you follow those systems and you don't deviate from those systems. So that way there's no irregular conduct or anything that leads to issues. And then another thing too is you want to make sure that you have proper insurance, liability insurance. You want to, if you can, have business insurance that will help you in case you get involved in a lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, uh, in what scenarios should an entrepreneur definitely consult a lawyer rather than DIY legal documents online?
Well, you should always consult a lawyer if you can and have the ability
Uh,
to, instead of do it yourself, because you do it yourself, you're going to run into problems. So, as part of being a business owner or running a business or being an entrepreneur, part of your requirement or part of what you should do is always plan to consult with an attorney regarding various things because it's not a luxury, it's a necessity.
yeah. Can you share a real example without names where a simple legal oversight led to big trouble for a business?
Sure, I had a case where I represented a company that was they did dog training, like they train dogs,
Yeah.
and they're located in Florida. And the guy who started it didn't do any legal consultation or consult with an attorney ahead of time. So he pulled
Yeah.
off a document from another state instead of Florida, and he had all his
Oh,
employees sign the document from the other state. So eventually, when he had a problem with an employee, he had to go to the other state and use the other state's laws because he used the wrong form because he didn't know any better. So instead of using a form for the state of Florida, he used a form for a different state. And that's what he agreed to. So that's what he had to do to resolve his problem.
oh, oh, that's serious. That's
Yeah,
serious. Most business owners are like one person, solopreneurs, right? And then they have two, three persons on the in the team, and then there are big businesses. As a business scales, right? Say from a one person operation to a small team. How should their legal structure and mindset evolve?
well, you should, most businesses don't start out as major conglomerates or whatever. So they
Yeah,
should start out reasonably small and plan to expand outward from where they
yeah,
start. So they may want to start as like a small one or few person corporation or LLC or whatever, and then make
yeah,
sure that they have the documents in place and the mechanisms in place so that if and when they want to expand and get bigger, they can just easily go to their documents and it says exactly how to add more people or add more partners or add more members or add more shareholders so that they can come into the business. And that's how you would do it.
yeah. I guess my question is, in terms of the legal framework, right? Let's say a small business would have a lawyer that they reach out to every time there's like they need to like there's something you said at the beginning of the episode. You said every time you touch something, you should have a, a document or contract for it, right? Let's say from one person and they're like, okay, I want to expand into having employees. They would have that lawyer they would consult, right? Okay, well, help me up with an employee contract. Okay, I'm going to rent property now. I'm moving from just my house and I want to have a property. And then they get the lawyer to give them a contract. My question is, how does that involve to them eventually getting an attorney, getting a lawyer, and all those things, right?
Well, you should have an attorney at all those steps to review all those documents. So, yeah, it's never too early and it's never too small to reach out to an attorney to help you because no matter what the contract is or the document, no matter how small or insignificant you think it is, it can turn out to be a big deal. And that's why you want to make sure that your interests are protected by having an attorney help you.
Yeah. How do attorneys and accountants work together to keep businesses compliant and efficient?
Well, and make sure they understand what their clients do in their businesses and how their businesses operate and what's the best structure for them to have. And if they're regulated, make sure that they're complying with regulations, whether it's like tax or administrative regulations or things like that, and make sure that they, run everything as efficiently and smoothly as possible. And they make sure they don't take any shortcuts and they're not doing anything that's not legal. And they want to make sure that they work with other professionals like accountants to make sure that their taxes and finances are in order. So that's generally, an overview of how you keep your business running from a legal standpoint.
Yeah. There's something that's it's trending these days, AI. What's your take on legal automation and AI tools?
Well, AI is, not just becoming a luxury or a curiosity anymore. It's increasingly becoming a necessity no matter what business you're in. And the issue with AI is, like I just told you the story about my client who found it off the internet.
Yeah.
AI has the right answer. It's just like the internet. It has the right answer, but it also has the wrong answers. So you don't know which is which because you're not a professional. So AI is very helpful, and AI, is used in all businesses now, and it's just going to get more and more pervasive. So the issue is that just like with anything else, you have to be aware of what you're doing because, like I said, it'll give you the right answer, but it'll also give you the wrong answer, and you don't know which is which because you're not an expert. So that's why even if you get information from AI or do things from AI, you want to make sure you still have a professional, whether it's an attorney regarding legal issues or an accountant regarding tax issues, that looks over the documents or looks over what you're doing and helps you. Because if you pick the wrong thing or you get the wrong information and you rely on that, then you're going to run into trouble.
Yeah, yeah. It makes sense. You know, earlier on at the beginning of the episode, you talked about entrepreneurs doing due diligences. From your experience and from what you've seen, the mistakes you've seen businesses make. What's one thing you wish they every new business owner knew before signing anything?
I just wish that they knew that, they don't have to do it alone and that they don't have to rush and that they they have professionals who can help them and they don't have to do things by themselves. They can rely on an attorney or an accountant to help them, and they don't have to rush into things. They can take their time. I know they're very eager and really want to get into business and start doing whatever they're doing, but they need to think and take a step back and realize that they need to make educated and informed decisions, and they can have people like business law attorneys or accountants or business coaches or other people who can help them make those decisions and make better decisions to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of business owners, once they hear, oh, involve an attorney or a lawyer, the first thing they think of is, oh, well, that's expensive. I'll do it my way.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, if you're in business, you have to budget accordingly because, it takes money to make money. It's an old saying, but it's true. So, as part of your
Yeah,
budget of your business, if you're serious about your business, you need to invest in professionals who will help you. So, you need to invest in an accountant and an attorney because they're necessities in order for your business to prosper. So, they need to be part of your operating budget. And when you put your budget together and you go through your money, you have to account for having them as part of that. Because if not,
yeah,
later on down the road, when you have something that you could have avoided that becomes a big problem, you're definitely going to need an attorney and it's definitely going to cost a lot of money.
yeah. Not so long. You mentioned you shared the example of a client, a business owner who was negligent and so had to like go to a different state just to settle issues with their employee. I'm curious, could you share with us an example of a business owner who they were very, very diligent when it came to legally protecting their business from day one, to the extent that when it eventually led to, when there was a problem, not from their end per se, but it was a problem that would have crushed them, did not, because they were diligent from the very beginning with their documents, with all the laws and all those things.
Sure. I mean, it happens all the time with a lot of my
Okay.
clients when they get into issues with other businesses or other people that they did their due diligence, their contracts are excellent, and when they need to go enforce their contracts, it's very, I won't say easy, but it's very doable and very
Yeah.
viable because their contracts are good. They follow formalities and they do things correctly. And when there's issues with their contracts or issues with people or issues with other businesses, they just essentially go through their contract and then they can file a lawsuit based on their contract and proceed accordingly. So it happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious. Could you give us an example?
Sure, just, like representing like like I represent a lot of people in the construction business. So sometimes when there's an issue with a construction site, whether it's commercial or residential, we have a very good contract in place and we're able to go to court and we're able to get the court to enforce our contract and to either be paid damages or whatever it is we're looking for in court because our contract's very good and we comply with it and we make sure that we can show that the other side did not comply with it.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice would you give to content creators, especially businesses that are run online? Yeah, because most of the times when we talk about legal contracts, uh, people that run their businesses digitally online, there's a way they distance themselves from, oh, I'm not a brick and mortar business, I'm not a regular business. I'm just doing my stuff online. I don't interact with people.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
make sure what you're doing, like, you don't have to have written contracts, you have terms of service. So make sure if you're a content creator and you have people download stuff or you have people use stuff or whatever, make sure you have like really good terms of service that protect you. And then make sure if you're generating content, make sure you know clearly who owns the content, whether it's you or your client, and make sure that's in your terms of service. And then if you're using content from elsewhere, make sure that you have the rights to use the content from elsewhere so that someone doesn't come and say that you improperly used their copyrighted
yeah.
material or their trademark material.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Matthew. Where can listeners, you do help businesses do this kind of things. Where can listeners learn more about the work you do and also connect with you?
Sure. So I'd be glad to help anyone who needs any help. You can always reach me. Just go to fornarolegal.com, which is my website, FORNARO legal.com. And it's got all my links to all my emails, phone numbers, social media, all my posts, all my blogs, all my videos, and it's all there.
Yeah, well, I'll put the link in the description and in the show notes so listeners can just click and go directly to the site.
Excellent.
Thanks for tuning in to Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.